easily the biggest match on the card and the most surprising match to have on this card is going to be a steel cage match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns for the World Universal Championship of Monday Night Raw. This match honestly is a big surprise to me. I know that one person, I can't remember who it was, tweeted me what I thought was going to happen at WrestleMania, and I said that it was a foregone conclusion that Roman Reigns was going to win that championship match. And he said, hey, what if Brock wins and they have a Brock versus Roman match at the World's Greatest Royal Rumble show? So that person called the shot, and I laughed at them at the time, thinking there was no way in the world that Brock Lesnar would go to Saudi Arabia. Brock went and wrestled on that Japan show, but I didn't think there was any way in the world that Brock wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. But I guess there is no limit to where Brock Lesnar will go if there is money to be made. And this is going to prove it. People are out there. People are spreading the rumor of Brock going to UFC. I don't think that is an easy slam dunk as people think that is going to be. We have already seen that you can be under WWE contract and fight for UFC. That sort of blew up in WWE's face a little bit after UFC 200 when Brock Lesnar failed his drug test pre-fight and post-fight and was suspended by UFC. Brock Lesnar, as of right now, is not in the testing pool, but Dana White has said publicly that he wants to use Brock Lesnar. Vince has made the exception for Brock that if he wants to go fight, he can go out there and he can get a match and tear it up if he wants to, just as long as it does not involve in the dates that he is needed for Monday Night Raw. And we saw last year that basically Brock was able to do UFC 200, which I believe was around the 4th of July. I think it was the weekend after. And then he was still able to come in and do SummerSlam, where he tore it up doing the Fatal 4-Way or the Fatal 5-Way, whatever it was. I remember that it involved like Strowman, Balor, Roman Reigns was in there, and maybe that was everybody that was in there. So, he's been able to do both, as well as win his fight against Mark Hunt, even though the win was taken away. So I think that, maybe I have this thought in mind, is that basically, that it's been put out there that Brock Lesnar signed a short-term deal to stay with WWE, and maybe the fact is that WWE runs a storyline where Brock just keeps winning these matches, and they have to keep making the story up that they keep him under contract short-term. We'll sign him for one more match. We'll sign him for one more match. And next thing you know, that Brock is this one more match is turned into 6 months or 7 months down the road before you realize that maybe Brock isn't really leaving. I keep talking about the Summer of Punk, where CM Punk was the ROH champion, and every time they put it out there that CM Punk was going to be wrestling on an ROH show, that this possibly could be his last match because of the fact he had signed to be under WWE developmental, and he would have to be leaving ROH soon. But he kept winning, he kept winning, and he kept winning, and people kept saying, well, this is the match he's going to lose, this is the match he's going to lose, and that brought up the level of anticipating what was going to be going down in that match. I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is really going to be a lot of fun on this show, especially to be seeing them inside of a steel cage. We'll have to see once Brock gets there what Brock really wants to do. I know that Brock wrestled in some steel cage matches during his first run. I know that he had like a steel cage match against Angle. He had a steel cage match against Vince McMahon that pop up off the top of my head. But off of this last run that he's been since he came back after WrestleMania 28, I only really remember him wrestling that Extreme Rules cage match against Triple H after WrestleMania 29, which he ended up winning. But Brock occasionally shows up to matches and just says, yeah, we're just going to go out there and do the Brock special and, in and out. And that's really all there is to say about that. So Everybody knows what happened at WrestleMania 32 against Dean Ambrose. He really didn't give Ambrose anything to work with, and the match really sucked. We've all seen a lot of the house show matches of Brock Lesnar's where he goes out there and has matches against guys like Sheamus and Rusev, The Miz. He doesn't really give those guys a lot, and he really shouldn't have to because of who he is and what level of a star he is. But yeah, when I think it was the match in Chicago where he wrestled against The Miz, they were actually booing Brock Lesnar, and not like in a "we hate you because you're the champion and nobody can beat you" kind of deal. Is that they felt like they didn't get their money's worth. Seeing Lesnar come out and have a 30-second match and just leave, because this was sort of like the building block of setting up the show, and what the drawing power was is that people wanted to see Brock Lesnar wrestle, and they wanted to see him wrestle on this house show match. And even though he was there, and it was what it was. I remember actually reading in old wrestling magazines, and this is something people have been talking about because of the Andre the Giant documentary that was on HBO. People were talking about those matches that Andre had against the Ultimate Warrior, where they were like 30 seconds long. Basically, Andre walked in there, he tried to attack Warrior. Warrior bounced off the ropes, gave him a shoulder tackle, 1, 2, 3, and that was all she wrote for that. And people actually complained that was not what they didn't get their money's worth. And I remember as a kid reading those and basically thinking you got to see Ultimate Warrior beat one of the biggest legends there is, a guy that really nobody's ever beaten before besides for Hulk Hogan. That seems like it would be a pretty exciting thing for me. But now that I actually have to spend my own money to go to these shows, and I kind of say bad things about UFC, wondering if it's really worth the money when Ronda Rousey makes somebody tap out in 30 seconds to the armbar. You build yourself up for that fight, and when it happens, it's like and then that cable bill comes, and you're like, all over again. So, I'm not 100% locked in that Brock is going to lose this match and Roman's going to win. I mean, there's always that thing that can happen, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that they want this World's Greatest Royal Rumble show to really mean something. They want to create sort of a stronghold in Saudi Arabia, and them getting a title win is something that people are going to be talking about. And when they come there next time, people are going to be expecting a title match with a title change again. And, they'll definitely be wanting to buy those tickets or tune in and watch on TV. And, that's the buzz that they're trying to create when they go do this match over there. So we'll have to see on this one. My prediction as of right now is that Roman wins, because that just seems like it was going to be. But I had that feeling in the back of my mind that maybe they're going to do this thing where just Brock never loses and keeps that championship belt.